Nexus Point News is reporting that they've now cast the roles for Leto II and Ganima, and that they are going to be played by Nakoa Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke. And a lot of the trades were confirming that with their sources. And Nakoa Wolf Momoa, I mean, obviously it's a familiar name, that is the son of Jason Momoa. It starts off by saying the cast of the highly anticipated third entry in Denis Villeneuve's Dune saga continues to grow as the film has found its twins. Sources tell Nexus Point News that Nakoa Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke are set to portray Leto II and Ganima, respectively. Momoa and Brooke will portray the twin children of Paul Atreides and Chani, as reported by NPN, or Nexus Point News, in April. The film was set to introduce the twins as teens in this film during a time jump. Details of this time jump are currently unknown, but may hint at Villeneuve drastically changing the story to incorporate elements of the novel Children of Dune. Momoa, the son of actor Jason Momoa, will be making his acting debut in Dune 3 and will be acting opposite his father. Jason Momoa will be reprising his role as Duncan Idaho, who returns as a Gola created by Sightale. Brooke is best known for her roles in Silo and The Primrose Railway Children. The twins were first introduced in Frank Herbert's 1969 novel Dune Messiah at the very end of the novel as newborns. It says spoilers. The birth of the twins resulted in the death of Chani, an event foretold through Paul's prescience. They return in the next installment in the series, Children of Dune, as 9-year-olds and attempt to overthrow their corrupted Aunt Aaliyah and the Carino uprising. Leto II is crowned as emperor and returns thousands of years later in God Emperor of Dune, fully transformed into a sandworm-human hybrid. First of all, I think the casting choices are a bit questionable. Ida Brooke, I've seen her in Silo. I think she had a few scenes in there. She plays a younger version of one of the main characters I can't remember the name of, but I think her performance was fine. Nothing that really stood out to me. But the choice of Nakoa Wolf Momoa is the most jarring, I think, and has the most red flags that are popping off for me, because this is the son of the actor who's playing Duncan Idaho. I just think that's such an odd choice, and clearly he resembles his father, so I think that's just strange to cast someone who has 0 acting credits, but also it will be memed, the fact that this is gonna look like Chani's and Duncan's children. They don't really resemble Timothée Chalamet. And also the Nepo baby conversation will definitely be in full swing. Someone who is so untested, hasn't had any acting experience. For a character as well as in Leto II, it's one of the most complicated characters and one of the most complex science fiction sagas ever. As far as Ida Brooke, I mean, she's got at least 2 credits to her resume, and she looks almost exactly like Zendaya. I think what just stands out to me the most is the fact that they're not just reporting on the casting of the twins, they're also revealing these significant story details and the fact that there's going to be a time jump. My first thought was, well, maybe they're misinterpreting a vision of the future as a time jump, because that's the only thing that would make sense for an adaptation of Dune Messiah. It wouldn't make any sense to incorporate a time jump and then go into adapting Children of Dune and ending it on a point I have no idea where that would make for a satisfying conclusion to Villeneuve's trilogy. I just cannot believe that Villeneuve would fuse together the narratives of Dune Messiah and Children of Dune. It's too much. Denis Villeneuve is notoriously tight-lipped about any phase of the production process. Once he's like in pre-production and he's in that zone, he doesn't come out of that zone to address anything online. He's not James Gunn. He's not just posting on a whim everything that he's doing behind the scenes. He's just nose to the grindstone. He is fully consumed in the creative process. It's actually been kind of frustrating to report on this stuff in the past and covering Villeneuve's Dune. There's no one on the production that will come out to confirm things. It's usually just these behind the scenes thing, like a production list for the casting, or the cast list was shared online, and that confirmed Austin Butler. Sharon Duncan Brewster, we knew she was cast for Dune Part 1, but we didn't know what role she was playing officially until I think right as the marketing campaign was in full swing. And with Dune Part 2, we knew that Tim Blake Nelson had some role, but we don't know what that was. We knew it was a small role because the actor himself said that it was, but he couldn't go into details. We still don't know who Tim Blake Nelson was for sure playing. The only thing that he was able to say was that he had scenes with Josh Brolin, and we could just come up with what we think that was. Rarely, if a rumor is out there, I don't think it was ever a pattern of the production either confirming or denying it. Denis Villeneuve was asked several times about Austin Butler, and I don't think he ever confirmed it. I think he made a cheeky comment on the red carpet at one point. So I think just with every rumor, we can kind of contextualize it and attribute legitimacy against what Villeneuve has said about his adaptation. That's the only thing that I can go on at this point, is what the director has stated in the past and go from there. And this just goes against everything that he has said about his intentions with Dune Messiah and the rest of the Dune saga as well. As I think about this more and more, the less sense it makes. And while I can see a Dune Messiah adaptation showing visions, these older versions of the twins, at a certain point, maybe towards the end, to see that vision of the future with them, that is the only thing that will make sense to me. But the fact that this rumor also encompasses that this will be a significant time jump and they're gonna embark into Children of Dune, that just throws everything out of whack. I can't believe that that's what Villeneuve would do. And I say that because most recently he was talking about not messing up other creators coming in to adapt the later books. I just think that him taking that liberty to begin adapting Children of Dune at the end of Dune Messiah's narrative, not only would that make for a very bloated and kind of chaotic mess of a film, it would definitely intrude upon another filmmaker coming in to adapt Children of Dune if he just went ahead and started doing that. Almost every interview that Denis Villeneuve has done addressing Dune Messiah and a possible adaptation of it, he's always said it in the context of, it has always been my dream to continue and adapt Dune Messiah. But beyond that, this is where it will end for me and my journey with Dune, at Dune Messiah. Because to him, that is a satisfying point to conclude Paul Atreides' arc. And I totally can see that. I can see it being a satisfying conclusion to wrap up those 3 films. But then if you continue into Children of Dune, it's the start of a whole new narrative journey. And according to him, he's always said that the ideas get more strange, more esoteric, just more complicated. So it's only ever been Dune and then Dune Messiah. Even when he was doing press for Dune Part 1, he was talking about his dream of adapting Dune Messiah. Never had he ever said Children of Dune. This is by the playlist. Denis Villeneuve is happy to plant the seeds in Dune Messiah so the franchise can keep going without him. So speaking to Vanity Fair, while talking about the crazy success of Dune Part 2, Denis Villeneuve stood firm on his promise of one more film in the franchise, Dune Messiah. That said, he knows there are more Dune books past Messiah, so he'd be willing to help the transition for new filmmakers to pick up the ball and run with it. And he's quoted saying, I think that it would be a good idea for me to make sure that in Messiah, there are the seeds in the project if someone wants to do something else afterwards, because they are beautiful books. They are more difficult to adapt. They become more and more esoteric. It's a bit more tricky to adapt, but I'm not closing the door. I will not do it myself, but it could happen with someone else. That just pretty much cements that for me, that someone has to be lying here, because if they are going past Dune Messiah and into Children of Dune, full on having at least some portion of the beginning of Children of Dune's narrative with Leto II and Ghanima, that just goes against everything Denis Villeneuve has said. And I struggle to think about where you would even end your Dune Messiah adaptation if you start with Children of Dune. That would end in a satisfying way, those first 3 movies. But also that wouldn't seem just incredibly odd for the next filmmaker coming in to pick up where you left off, somewhere in the middle of Children of Dune's story. That just seems like a lot of stepping on another filmmaker's toes in regards to their adaptation, as opposed to simply planting the seeds and leaving the door open for them. And honestly, if you just follow the source material, the seeds are already there. They are already planted. So all Denis has to do is follow the story, follow the source material to Dune Messiah's end. And those are the only seeds that you'll need for other filmmakers to come in for Children of Dune. And I can see it so clearly of how Dune Messiah will end. And I feel like there's only one way where it could end that would have a satisfying conclusion to those films. And that is Paul walking into the desert. So the only way that this makes sense, if they are non-speaking roles, if this is just a vision purely of Paul, and this would be after the twins are born, that he sees them possibly in the future and realizes that the path ahead can continue without him. After the very climactic and dramatic events of Dune Messiah, and then to time jump years later, and I guess since these actors, they are older than the source material, so it's a significant time jump within this film, I struggle to believe that too, because there was a much smaller time jump within the first book, Dune, and he didn't do that. I believe his justification was it would have disrupted the pacing that they wanted. They wanted the urgency to be with Paul Atreides, and they felt that a time jump would disrupt the pace. And I feel like the exact same justification could be used here. I can see why Denis Villeneuve wanted to end his trilogy of films with Dune Messiah, because he sees it as the end and conclusion of Paul's arc. A new stage of Paul's arc enters with Children of Dune, and I think that would be incredibly confusing if we just end it somewhere random in the beginning of Children of Dune. I can only ever see it make sense in a vision form, utilizing it towards the end, when Paul realizes that he has had twins, where he sees through his son's eyes, he realizes they've been preborn. I just feel like that would be the best moment to do that, if they're gonna plant the seeds for the future. If this is all about Paul Atreides in the end, and the warning and lessons surrounding his arc, then I can think of no better place for Denis Villeneuve to end his films than with Dune Messiah and that ending of walking into the desert.